All right, guys. Today is January 5th, 2025, first live stream of the year. I'm excited to talk about a couple different things going on. Excited for this year. Going to talk about a bunch of different things, other shows, movies that we're watching. Nothing Walking Dead related because there's nothing to talk about with that show. So it sounds like we got to really move on from that show and that series and that everything for a little bit because there's not much going on. We don't know exactly when Daryl's show's coming back. The Dead City's coming back. So we got to move on with different shows, movies, other stuff we're watching. How about you guys? Hopefully you had a happy new year, a good holiday season, everything upon us. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of things this hour. You know, we talk about just different shows, movies, topics, everything going on, stuff going on with me, you, everybody there too in the chat. We appreciate you guys taking the time to be here as always because you don't have to be here. Just don't. You choose to be here, and that's awesome. You know, and I truly appreciate the community that's still around here because, you know, some people left the channel because we don't talk about The Walking Dead much anymore because there's really not much to talk about. What we're going to talk about, you know, Squid Game, From, Landman, what else you got? No Good Deed. I don't know, other shows, movies. You want to talk about Cobra Kai, Gladiator 2, like whatever you want to talk about. We watched a couple different things recently. So let me know in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. What do you got going on this year? So what's up, Gemini and Tim and the rest of the people joining as we speak. So I am One Eye Bry, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about different shows and movies we're watching now and coming later this year. So I'm excited for Reacher Season 3, 1923 Season 2, Stranger Things, the final season. So the movies I've watched so far recently have been Craven and Gladiator 2 were the two movies that I've seen recently, and both were pretty good. Gladiator 2, I don't want to give anything away if you haven't seen it yet, but if you like the first Gladiator movie, it does a good job connecting it. And so, like I said, I don't want to give anything away, but the actor the main actor of the movie is pretty good. Denzel Washington, of course, is great. Really, he's great in everything he does. But Michael Singer says Sonic 3 is really good. That's one I have not seen yet, but I do like the first two Sonic movies, and they're doing a good job with Sonic, I have to say. You know, it's one of those type of movies that it was a video game, obviously, on Genesis, Sega Genesis, back in the 90s, and it's like, how do you replicate that into a movie? And I think they did pretty good. I think they did a pretty good job with it. I haven't seen the third one yet, but I know that what they've done so far in the first two movies have been pretty good. You know, we live in a CGI world and we're kind of there and it's all right. But we finished the second season of Squid Game, definitely setting up a third season if you haven't seen that yet. And if you haven't seen Squid Game, it's a Korean show where they speak Korean, but the subtitles are in English, so you can understand what they're saying, and it's dubbed in English, but it's changed over. You can tell they're not speaking English, but if you've never seen a kung fu movie and stuff like that, so it doesn't really bother me much. It might bother some, but it's worth watching because, again, I've said this time and time again, I like different shows, different movies, different stuff that makes sense. I don't need to go see some crazy stuff that's outlandish just because it's different, but it has to be worthwhile watching. I don't need to see the same old rom-com that's been there, done that. I don't need to see remakes of stuff that was actually good, and if it's remade now and it's worse, like, come on, it just doesn't make sense to do. But they're running out of shows and movies and topics to do. But we just started the third season of What If on Disney Plus, and it's a good episode. They've all been really good because it makes sense of the what if scenario. And I always thought they would love to do that with The Walking Dead. And you could do it as animation. You don't have to do it. Like, What If is all animated. There is no, a live action to it. There is What If is animated with a lot of the same actors' voices. They, kind of change it up a little bit from time to time, but definitely the same people that are there playing, Falcon, Winter Soldier, well, I guess Captain America now, but, all those characters are pretty much the same voices that they've had before. So overall, it's been pretty interesting there too. I mean, we're only a couple of days into this year, 2025, and I'm not a big fan of January in the previous years because it's so long of a year. Or so month of a month. It's so long of a month in the year. It just started. We got done the holidays. We got done this. January's 31 days. It's, right now it's going to be cold. So it's kind of cold in Florida. So if it's cold in Florida, it's probably cold everywhere else. It's going to be cold coming up with this polar vortex or something that's coming there. So, stay warm, stay dry, get the heater going, the space heater, stay safe as always. I finished up a chapter today of my next book series that continues the story of Fight for Us. And, I'm always excited about it because when I'm writing stuff, I'm excited for different things, different characters. I feel for the characters, the story coming together. And, if I don't feel for the characters in the story, then how can the readers, So it's pretty awesome that I'm excited to share that with you. I kind of wrote something today that should be not a huge surprise, but kind of a big surprise and a big moment in the series that can't wait to have that finished and published later this year. Gemini asked me if I'm going to the Pro Bowl. Nah, I really won't go to a Pro Bowl. I don't even know the next sporting event I'm actually going to go to. And I don't know if I'll go to a NFL football game in a long time because they're so expensive. And I went to one Pro Bowl. It was in Miami because notoriously the Pro Bowl was in Hawaii for years and years and years. And then it switched over to Miami, and now it's in Orlando. So that kind of sucks for the athletes that have been going to Hawaii, that no one has gone there now because it switched over there, and no one that was probably in Hawaii back then would be these Pro Bowls now, so they don't know any different. But I'd rather go to Hawaii than Orlando myself. But ultimately, Orlando is a spot for the Pro Bowl. I would not be going because I don't really care that much about any of that stuff. It's cool to be a fan of a team or a sport or of anything, but I just see it as entertainment. Maybe I can make some money on FanDuel or DraftKings or anything like that. I don't bet on Hard Rock or anything like that, but some people do, and I see it as entertainment, but also hopefully can make a little bit of money here or there. And like today, there's some big games. The Bucks, if they win, they're in the playoffs. If whoever wins the Lions-Vikings game tonight at 8:30 or 8:20 or whenever it starts tonight on NBC is going to be the number one seed in the NFC. The loser will be the 5th seed, I believe, which is crazy to think what's going to happen with that winner-loser of that game. Denver can get in, or Miami can get in, or a couple teams here and there. If Atlanta wins and the Bucks lose or whatever, but I mean, the Bucks should beat the Saints, but we'll have to see what happens overall. Other than that, guys, do you have any plans for 2025? Do you have any shows, movies, conventions, trips, vacations, activities, something? Are we going to be trying to get a new job? Are we going to graduate? Are we going to do anything there? I'm in my 40s now, and so I have a different outlook on life than I did when I graduated from college and PT school. And I'm really getting into investing, mainly dividend stocks and, a little bit of crypto, but nothing too crazy. And so I personally think that's a great way to invest for the future, literally setting up your financial success for the future, because a lot of people want to open up a business. They want to have a lot of stuff going forward. And it's really difficult, to take a loan out, open up a business, brick and mortar, whatever you're trying to do, and you can fail. But I would rather, right now, at my stage now, I'd rather put money into a business that's tried and true. A company like Walmart, like Target, like Pepsi, like Coca-Cola, like whatever you like to have, and just, be a part of that huge company, Yeah, Carol, very sad for the victims of, in New Orleans. That happened right before the Sugar Bowl when Georgia played Notre Dame and Georgia lost, Notre Dame won. And then I saw that the Georgia coach, Kirby Smart, his dad died from a fall in New Orleans. Like, was that something to do with that? I don't even know, that craziness that's there. And, it's just a shame when you see stuff happen that was avoidable. Like, none of that had to happen. Someone chose to do that, and we'll have to see where this world's going to go. But it's just a shame when you see displays like that. And, of course, we're not all going to get along, and there's probably not going to be world peace, and there's probably not going to be this. There's always going to be conflict and resolution and this, but the conflict doesn't have to be as crazy as it is. It was crazy because, I'm a physical therapist that hopefully a lot of you know. And there's people that come with different outlooks on life, different, political affiliations or outlooks. And I'm not there to judge. I'm there to get people better. But you can see the difference and the break in people. You can say like this and that, and this side and that side. And it's a shame because that'll always be a part of it. But at the end of the day, we are Americans and we should come together for that. How do you do that? That's the tricky part. What is the, driving force that brings us together? I don't know, but hopefully we can start that, this year and beyond. Michael Singer says, he won his fantasy league this year with an 8-7 record. Did you do? Well, I don't play in a fantasy league anymore, Michael. I used to, but it's a whole headache. I was the commissioner of a league for so many years, and it's a headache trying to track people down to get their money, to do the draft on a certain day and time and this. And we used ours through Yahoo. And it's pretty simple after the draft, but then people don't pay and people don't this. And I always used to I always like to pay top 3 because the winner, great, you won. The second place, good, you got something. Third place, you basically get your money back and play for free. So it kind of mattered at the end of it too. But it would have to be a tough year for fantasy football, especially with all the injuries and Christian McCaffrey. Like that sucks. Like I know I used to play, and there was time I used to play back in the day when like Priest Holmes was amazing, and players like Charles, I don't even know their names now, but Chris Johnson and Jamal Charles was his name, and they were just awesome running backs and wide receivers, and then people would get injured and you're kind of screwed. But in fantasy of FanDuel and DraftKings, you're starting off every week or every game of everything. If you play, basketball or football or whatever, you're just starting fresh every week. And I like that much better on there too. So I'd rather do that with my time and money. But it was kind of fun to keep in touch with your friends from high school and everything. And then, life gets in the way and you get older and you don't get to spend as much time with your friends. And if anyone that's read the book series, The Fight for Us, hopefully you've seen an underlying theme of a lot of stuff. And I try to put that in there, obviously, as a shout out to my friends, my family, my wife, my dad, my cats, all that stuff. And it's just a thing that is meaningful. It's a fictional universe, but it's still something that when I'm writing it, I kind of picture my friends and whatever doing that. And fantasy was a good way to keep in touch with people. And it's kind of sad when you lose touch with people and everything, and people, for different reasons. But I believe everything happens for a reason, and people come and go in your life for different reasons, some good, some bad, and learning lessons and learning forward what you have. And that's what life's all about, learning and growing. And it's just kind of evident the older I get, and hopefully the wiser I get, but not always. But hopefully older and wiser is a nice correlation. So you get to see things differently as you get older. And it's funny because I work with a person who's 21, a person that's 25, and then a couple older people too, and then the people that are in their 30s that I work with our organization. So you get to see a variety of different outlooks on life. And you can see the 21 and the 25-year-old, they think they have it figured out. And in some aspects, I guess they could, but a lot they don't. A lot of parts, they're just like struggling with it and they don't know. It's funny. For example, one of my employees is going to Las Vegas in a couple weeks. And I'm like, oh, what's the weather going to be like? I don't know. You don't know? Don't you want to know that? Don't you want to know for packing clothes, packing, whatever you're going to do. Like, you're going to go there and it's going to be hot or cold. And are you not going to be prepared for the flight when you get there? Like, it's just something that I would never not think of that now too. Like, okay, if I'm going to Georgia, what are we going to bring? What are we going to have? What's it going to be like? If it's going to be 65 degrees versus 85 degrees, that's a big difference. What's it going to be at night? We're going to be walking around, going to do that stuff too. You're like, oh, okay. Let's be prepared in any way, shape, or form too. And so it was just kind of funny that the person didn't even think about that. And I'm like, how could you not think about that? And I don't know if it's the person or the age or whatever, but I'm like, hopefully more people are a little more prepared. And it's just different. Every generation thinks they're better than the next generation. Everybody thinks it's better than, we had this going for us, or we've been through this, or we had to deal with this. You didn't have to deal with that. And you're right. Hopefully the generations are getting better and better and better. Like, if you have kids, hopefully your kids are better off than you, better off than the next generation. We learn from what we had to do those things. You buy property for a house to lay down roots and build a foundation to grow strong and committed and together. And you build that and you have everything going forward together. But that doesn't always happen. Life changes. People get sick. People, variety of things. Life gets in the way. And so it's always interesting, to see how people view life and everything too. But, my wife told me this story yesterday because, like, we went to the supermarket. I had to go to the bank to deposit something, and she went in the store, and then I met her because you could walk there from where it was in the same shopping center. And so I walked over, and she was getting some apples or something, and then I walked over to her. And then when we got our groceries and we came back to the car, we use hand sanitizer and clean our hands after touching all that stuff. And she was telling me that when she went to the deli counter, the cold cut line, she was getting the turkey, and she was, wipe. She didn't get the wipe or the cleaning thing or the hand sanitizer by the carts, so she cleaned her hands. And this guy looked over at her, and she's like, made eye contact with the guy briefly, but he goes, "Oh, now you got me paranoid." And just stuck his hands out, like, give me hand sanitizer. And I'm like, the entitlement of people, like, get the F out of here. Like, what are you talking about? That's just so stupid. And that's just the viewpoint of not just young people, but elderly people, older people. Everybody as a society is like, oh, me, give me this. You have it, give me it. And I'd be like, wow. That's interesting. Didn't even ask, by the way, too. Oh, can I get some of that? He goes, "You got me paranoid." And you're like, what the heck is that? I just would have laughed at the guy if I was standing there. I'm like, you expect me to give you that? Are you going to ask for it? Like, I have no problem saying if someone's out of line. Like, whoa, where are your manners at, dude? Like, come on. But my wife's this little 5'3" woman, so I guess people think they can just get what they want around it too. It's just like, I would never try to do that. And it's not a big deal. It's not like anybody was hurt, but just the audacity, the mindset of that. And it's not just him. It's probably a lot of people, but it was so funny. Yeah. Tim says, the older you get, the more you've seen, therefore you are wiser. Exactly. So through experiences, we hopefully learn, but some people are still so, I guess, naive to the fact of and they don't put it on themselves. Like, it's not my fault. They're always the victim kind of thing too. So do they learn from it? Hopefully. But what do they learn? How do they actually learn again too? Carol says, my papa says, just keep on living in regards to the age comment. That's true, right? Like age doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like, I have people that are all ages. We've seen people in their teens all the way. The oldest person I treated in physical therapy is 103. Right? Amazing. But why does that matter? Why does age matter? If somebody dies, they always ask, how old were they? And if someone's in their 70s, 80s, or 90s, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what it is. But if somebody's younger, they're like, oh, too soon. Too soon. But what makes it too soon? And what makes it okay? Is time? Someone could live a great life, but a short life. And someone could live long, but not have that great of a life. Like, there's not a correlation with time and age and success and happiness, right? Like, I just don't see that. So, because there's a lady that I treat a lot, and she's 87. She'll be 88, I think, this month, actually. And we're talking about age and everything. And she's like, I don't know what an 87-year-old is to feel like. Because how do you know that, right? It doesn't matter. We're getting older every second. For the next 40 minutes, we're going to get older. Yes, it's only 40 minutes and not 40 years. But what are we doing to improve ourself, our arrangement, our settings, our environment, our household, our connections, our, relationships, our marriage, our work environment? What are we doing to get better at that? Are we actively trying to get better? Or are we just going through it? And we can't actually do anything about it unless we decide to do something about it too, And you take the bull by the horns and whatever on there too, and you can only do that for so much. But try to see it in your perspective of life. Is the only thing I can recommend too, because trust me, I get down to the dumps and frustrated. Like tomorrow's going to be Monday, and it's back to work on a Monday. But hey, I got a job. I'm doing okay. I'm making money. I actually have a student starting on Monday too. He's from the University of Buffalo, so it'd be kind of cool to find out more about that. And he'll be with me for the next 2 months. So it'll be kind of cool. Hopefully we get along and we have similar personalities and he's a nice guy and, it'd be kind of cool. But we'll see. So it's always kind of cool. And I love the line, we've said it before in, different live streams. Yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery. And that's like the great thing about it too. It's also the kind of scary thing, but also what kind of stinks tomorrow is that the schools are back in session for the schools in Pinellas County where I live. And so they're like, oh man, gotta back to elementary school, middle school, and high school, the buses, the carpool lines, the other stuff craziness. But I leave earlier in the morning, so hopefully it should be okay and don't have to deal with too much traffic. But it's nice driving around with less and less traffic, less and less people. And that's what I was writing earlier, if you guys missed it or whatever. I think I wrote chapter 8 today of my next book series. So 8 chapters down, and I guess 8 to go. I don't even know. Am I going to do 16 chapters or 13 chapters? We'll have to see how it, see which way the story goes, or a good stopping point is. But I always think about the characters when they're driving around, and I'm like, man, as long as the roads would be open and safe and clear and there's no zombies and debris and danger, it would probably be so great driving around. Like when you watched I Am Legend with Will Smith, and he's driving, like the opening sequence is great. He's got that Mustang and he's like flying around as fast as he can, and he knows where to fishtail and hit it and book it down, and he sees the deer and he's trying to hunt the deer and the dog's barking and whatever. It's a great opening sequence. But you're like, that would be awesome to drive around and not have to deal with nearly, if any, traffic. And to know the streets because there's not people around. There's not anything around on there too. And you're like, that would be awesome. So speaking of zombie stuff, 28 years later will be out later this year. And I'm excited to see about that because, I've seen the other 2 movies of the franchise, and I definitely like, Aaron Taylor, Johnson, whatever his name is, and he's one of the main stars of that movie, I believe, and pretty cool. And so I watched Gladiator 2, and that's the main actor of that movie is definitely not Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's a different actor, but he does a great job. I don't know who this guy is, but he does pretty awesome stuff. And if anyone likes Stranger Things, one of the 2 twins, the emperors, is Eddie Munson from the Stranger Things. So he does a good job, obviously. And, just the thing that's, just to check out. And it's always kind of cool to see different actors, especially from a show. Like they'll always be, oh, that's the guy from Stranger Things. Oh, that's the guy from The Walking Dead. Or, oh, that's the guy from so-and-so, whatever. It kind of goes back to where you know them from. Or like, oh, that's the guy from 1923. Or that's the guy from 1883. Or that's the guy from Yellowstone, So Negan 1 says, Arizona has a lot of desolate roads with nobody else on them. Yeah, I mean, cities like I'm guessing Phoenix and whatever those places are going to be, crazy packed. Especially, so Negan 1, you live in Arizona and I live in Florida. So 2 retirement area, states, and the cities are probably there too. And is it annoying? Like now, snowbirds have to be coming down from probably all over the United States, but I'm guessing you're seeing a lot of people from Washington State, Oregon, California, Idaho, Montana, Wisconsin, Minnesota, all those places go to Arizona too, or do they just come to Florida? Yeah, I mean, I would assume Arizona's got to be warm and comfortable and, a great place to be. And what are those, like on those desolate roads, what are the speed limits? Because when I was in Texas, some of the highways were 80 miles per hour speed limit. And I was like, that's pretty awesome to be going 80. Even if you're going 75, that's pretty fast, It's definitely pretty cool to see where some states like do it right and they get it right. And especially if it's like a big open highway. And say you're going 72, 75, but I guess if it's 80, you can go 85, because what do we go, like 3 to 5 miles per hour over the speed limit kind of a thing? That's what they say, right? Within that range. And I guess it's the people that are going like 120 that you're like, don't be going that fast, which I don't recommend to go that fast, because that's just dangerous. And even at like 70, 80 miles per hour, that's pretty dangerous too. $55. That's it, man. So Arizona didn't put up the speed limits for the open roads. It's got to be like 70 or so. Well, I guess it depends if it's a highway or whatever too for it. Tim says, my back road when I was a kid, a car an hour when my kids was young, 3 to 4 now. Can't back out without 5 to 6 every 5 minutes, and it's still the same back road. Like I haven't lived in the same house for a while. When I grew up, I lived in my house from when I was like probably 3 or 4 till I was mid-20s. And then, so that was probably like solid 20 years in that house. And you could see the development, how they did things and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like everything is just changing and developing so quickly now. Because back in the, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, I don't know how much was changed for places. Because I just feel like all of a sudden developers are coming in and they're buying this and they're knocking this down and they're putting this in and they're putting this business in and they're putting all this crazy stuff in there too. And it's just, I don't know, like everything is kind of changing. And I've lived here in Florida now in my house for just over like 13 years. And I've seen change since then. And I always love to talk to people that have been here for longer than me. Like some people have lived here since 1984 or 1990 or whatever. And it's pretty cool to see what they tell me is like, these were all orange groves and it was always this, and this was a dirt road and that was there too. And, I've seen construction come in and everything. And so it's kind of interesting how they've changed different shopping centers and stuff has come and gone. Like Bed Bath & Beyond, that went out of business, and that was there too. And then something, hopefully you'll go in there, and it sits there forever. And they changed this mall, and they changed that, and this restaurant came. And, it's just kind of different, And because when I talk to my dad, all he talks about is back when, and back this, and back there, and back here, when he was a kid, and over here, and over there. And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't alive yet. I don't know what you're talking about and referencing besides what he tells me. And so it's not really on the same page. But it's kind of cool to see, where stuff has been and where it's going too. So, but other than that, TV shows, Netflix. So we're still watching Silo season 2, which is still good. It's kind of cool. They're throwing little twists and turns around there too. And there's if you watch Silo, does anybody watch Silo? Because if you do, you'll recognize one of the actors from The Walking Dead. The actor who played Sadiq is on there. And it's always kind of cool to see people from different shows, and especially the Walking Dead cast. So we're watching Silo. We just finished Squid Game Season 2. And I'm guessing they're going to go into Season 3. I think there's rumored to be Season 3 is in 2025, which is this year. And I'm guessing they filmed it back to back because I don't want to give anything away, but the way it ends, they could have just kept filming. And there's only 7 episodes in Season 2, so they probably saved it for Season 3. And I'm guessing Season 3 is going to be a shortened season, and it's probably going to be the final season because I don't know what else they can kind of do for the games that are doing there too, and there has to be some sort of resolution for it. So we'll have to see, but it's definitely worth watching for sure. So we're watching that. There's another show that I talked about too. It's called No Good Deed, and it stars Ray Romano and Lisa Kudrow from Friends. She was Phoebe on Friends, and it's one of those half-hour shows that's okay, but it's kind of like, is it a comedy? Is it this? Is it? I don't even know what it kind of is because, so basically it's Ray Romano and Lisa Kudrow are married and they're trying to sell their home, but they want to sell it to the right people, and it's this whole debacle of who's going to buy it, who they're going to sell it to, and it's okay. Like, it's nothing great by any means, and if you want to check something out, definitely check it out. No Good Deed. We started What If Season 3 on Disney Plus, which is good. They do a good job. What else were we watching? Besides football, Hard Knocks. Yeah, I mean, that's the classic stuff there, which is a lot of good football. Hopefully we'll see where it goes for the playoffs. Landman. I definitely like. So Tim, do you like Landman? Because I really like it. I'm trying to wait for it to end because I think there's going to be 10 episodes, and we just finished episode 7, and I want to watch like 8, 9, and 10 because I like to watch an episode a day. So 8, 9, and 10, I'll try to watch that whenever, because I think 9 comes out. I think it's a Sunday show, but I'm not sure. And I really like the show. Billy Bob Thornton does a great. It's a terrible name of a show, Landman, but Billy Bob Thornton does a great job, like he usually does. And the story is just interesting, especially with the kids and the people and the oil and the families and everything. It just draws you in. It's one of Taylor Sheridan's best shows, like newer shows. Like besides Yellowstone, that was great. 1883 was good, but that was like one and done. 1923, I hope it gets much better when it comes out in February. And then I don't like Lioness. So yeah, so episode 9's out. Thank you, Negan one. But I'm going to wait to next week when episode 10 comes out, and then I'll just watch 8, 9, and 10 that way. Reacher comes out in February, which I'm excited to see what happens there. And I was talking to a patient that likes military books and everything, and so when I hear that, I'm like, "Do you read the Jack Reacher books by Lee Child?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, they're great." And he watched all of them. He read all of them, and I was like, "How do you like the show?" And he's like, "It's good." And we talk about Tom Cruise and the movies, and Tom Cruise is no way the Jack Reacher, looking at it too, because he's just too short. Jack Reacher is, a huge 6'5" or 6'7" or whatever he is. He's this huge man in the Army. TNT Adventures in Photography. It's been a while. It has. But it's all right. We're still hanging in there, talking about different shows and movies. Like I said, I watched Gladiator 2, which is very good. I recommend it. I mean, you can wait till it goes on a streaming service to watch it. But definitely check it out. It's worth watching. Craven was okay. Again, wait for that to go on, HBO or whatever. We're also watching another show called Bookie on HBO Max, and it's starring Sebastian Maniscalco. And it's okay. It's a 30-minute show like Entourage was, and I hate 30-minute shows because they're always too short. And they're like 28 minutes, by the way. They're not even 30 minutes. But the episodes are just, it feels like a half a show or not complete enough show. And you got to give me at least 40 minutes of a show. I guess we're spoiled now. But back in the day, make it a sitcom that's 21 minutes or 40 minutes. Like, don't give me that 28 minute time slot. That's stuff happens and it happens too quick and there's no build up in each episode. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. Is that good, Tim? I saw that Juror 2. Is that on Netflix? Was that good? Do you recommend? Because I definitely love recommendations from people too, because, well, the certain people. Like my one friend will just tell me every movie or show that he likes, and I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know if it's if it's worth watching. Yeah, Landman is great. I recommend. Well, see, I always recommend Taylor Sheridan shows, especially if I watch them. But I just feel like Taylor Sheridan writes good stuff that we can relate to, right? Like, I just love the idea of having a relatable cast of characters that you don't feel like, well, some characters you're made not to like, you know, especially the guys on Landman. Like, if you haven't seen it, you know who I'm talking about. But it starts off with this nice family atmosphere kind of thing, with Billy Bob Thornton's son and trying to be in the oil stuff, and everything happens. And then after that, the stuff that happens just sets down this spiral that's like, whoa, you know, and then it takes down the stuff. So it's kind of crazy. And then you get to see, like, I mean, I don't know how legit those facts are that Billy Bob Thornton says about the oil industry and how much money they make and how much money it would be to cost of solar and wind and all this stuff, because the oil business will have to buy that, or have to make some of that, and they'll have to use up all this oil to make a lot of that stuff, and then the cost of it doesn't benefit anybody and doesn't change anything. And so it's just kind of crazy to think about it too, because eventually you think about it too, is like oil, we're so reliant on oil for so many things that I don't know how much oil there is, how much oil you can have on this planet for everything. And we use it in like everything: cars, trains, planes, boats, moving goods, shipping stuff, flying stuff, moving, you know, whatever. It's just everything under the sun. Heating, this, that, is just so involved with it. And hopefully they'll cut it down to less usage of it. But I don't know, you know. Exactly. So so TNT says cars are 65% plastic, and plastic is made of oil. And so are, you know, windows, and so are everything. Manufacturing is so reliant on there for it. So I don't know if we're ever going to be able to truly get away from that, and that's okay. But if we can cut it down for usage, you know, like the manufacturing business. So like it was kind of an eye-opening fact of it too, with what they say on there. And that's what it feels like. Like a lot of Taylor Sheridan's writing is just based on stuff that I guess is probably common knowledge of certain areas too. Like in Montana, where Yellowstone's supposed to be, there is a problem with out-of-state tourists going there, buying up houses and buying up all this stuff, like a lot of rich and, you know, powerful and wealthy celebrities and business people buying up all this stuff that the residents and the locals can't survive. That's actually a real thing. Like, that's not made up. And that's the thing, when there's certain towns that are in there, it's a problem. And that is a part of Yellowstone's story. And probably the same thing with the oil business in Texas. And probably the same thing, you know, whatever he gets into as well. And probably I mean, I don't know how involved it would be with Mayor of Kingstown, but, you know, there might be some things that happen that way too. So it's just kind of interesting. It feels like you're getting, like, it's fictional, obviously, all these tales are, but it kind of feels like it's based in reality a little bit, or somewhat at least. And I like that about it. It feels like it's legit and honest and good, you know? And so exactly. So you see that too. Like a lot of stuff around the globe is like, there's only so much property, right? So property is worth a lot of money. It always will be, and it's going to stand the test of time, because the old adage of God ain't making any more land. The earth is not making any more land. The earth is finite. There's only so much of it. And when there's something that's finite, it's pretty important. It's pretty worth a lot of money. It's very valuable too, just like anything, right? So a house, very valuable because there's only so many of them now. We're getting overpopulated as we speak. People are living longer. People are doing this. People are doing that. And so who buys the houses? Somebody somewhere has to buy a house. Like here in Pinellas County where I live, we had 2 major hurricanes impact Tampa Bay. So the thing now is people, if your house flooded, what do? You probably don't live there because you can't. You can't do any work because there's no permits to do the work. So you have to move out. But how can you pay for something? The mortgage payments aren't going to stop. The bills aren't going to stop for the home that you can't live in. So what do? I guess you move away or you live in a hotel or you do whatever. And then you try to sell your house because you want to get away from all this and get done with it. But how do you actually get it? I don't know. It's just such a complicated mess. And that's just one aspect of it. So you're like, okay, so there's going to be probably some developer or bank or something that's going to swoop in, buy all the land up, buy the homes, knock all the homes down, and then build new homes up on stilts and put them up 6 to 8 feet high. So if and probably when there's storm surge again, because hurricanes aren't going anywhere, they're going to be able to build that up. And there you go. But that's not a good thing. That's going to hurt people and then the people are going to come back to buy a home that's probably going to cost $1 million that's going to live on the water. So the property values are going to go up, and that's great. And I would love to be able to sell my house and make a bunch of money, but where do you go? What do you do? That would have been one of those things where if you bought 2 or 3 pieces of property and you could sell one of them but still live somewhere else, or rent it out and then fix it up and then sell it and make some money. That's where a lot of people do, is buying real estate and renting it out and having, disposable income from that. But that's not for me. I'm more into stocks and dividends and all that stuff. So that's what my focus is for this year and for the time being, for the rest of my life, I definitely recommend people to get into that, to invest in companies, whether you like it, on Robinhood, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever you like, Vanguard. There's a million other places to do it, and it's much easier now to do. And, I've been talking to different patients and different things, and nobody knows any of this. Like, I don't know it all by any means. Like, I'm a beginner, novice person with it all. But I've been doing it now for 4 going on 5 years. Like, this summer will be 5 years that I've been playing the stock market and investing. And I'm still learning stuff every day, every couple months. Everything's there too about dividends and declarations and, just ex-dividend date and payouts and, just profits and what, it's just crazy how it is. And you just do the best you can, and then you can still lose money. It's gambling. But what benefits me is the dividend. It gets paid out by a company. But, that's if people have disposable income, and a lot of people don't. So you just got to be safe with your investments, and if it's a get rich quick scheme, it usually don't work out very well. So I don't recommend doing any of that. It takes time, just like anything, right? There's a great quote by Warren Buffett, I believe. He says, "You can't time the market. It's about time in the market," and it's about time. Like, everybody wants it done today. Instant millionaire. Boop. And that's people who win the lottery. Like, that's the people who have some sort of grandma or aunt or uncle that left them money. That's not the average person. But to actually do something and do it well, it takes time. Just like anything. But people don't want time. They want it done now. They want it done yesterday. So that's crazy, right? So you think about it, you have to be able to just do the best you can with what you got, but think about it as a marathon, not a sprint. But enjoy your life, do your stuff there too, and whatever, because it can be over in a heartbeat, my stepmom's not doing well. She's got a lot of health concerns. My wife lost a friend from college about a month or so ago. And you just start thinking about it, how life is precious and so short. And so we have to be able to enjoy life when we can. That doesn't mean live frivolously and carelessly and just carefree and do whatever you want and spend all your money and waste it. If you have disposable income like that, then you can. But, it just can be over quickly in a heartbeat. So let's, just enjoy every moment we have and as much as you can, because, there's stuff that's going to be annoying, and little things like that. And when you watch like dystopian universe stuff and zombie shows or end of the world scenarios, it always has those moments of joy, right? Like in The Walking Dead, they're killing walkers and battles and this and struggles and everything there too. And then they get to relax. And they get to take in safety and security. The most basic things of life. Safety and security. Being safe. Not having to worry about being in danger or getting harmed. Mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is. But you're safe. You're in a protected bubble. You're in a house. You're in a prison, whatever it was, in season 3. You're in Alexandria. But then it always comes down to those little moments, like Carl eating the pudding. It's a small little moment in time. And he ate the entire thing of pudding. And he had to be in danger with a walker in the house to do it. And he sat on the roof and enjoyed his pudding. And he was safe. And just little things like that, And it just comes down to eating the Cheese Whiz, walking with Michonne, having the candy bar, finding comic books or whatever, finding moments there too. And yes, it's a show and it's fictional, things like that too. And not everything can be great and grand and awesome. But it's the moments that are. The good moments, the exciting moments, the fun moments. The experiences with your friends and family and loved ones. That's why I was talking to my wife about it. And I'm like, it's crazy, right? We're in our 40s now, right? So statistically, we got 40 years left. Probably even less. But just say 40 years. So my dad's 75 years old. In 40 years, he would be 115. Which I doubt my dad's going to live to be 115. But let's say, I'm 40 years old, right? In 25 years, at 65, people retire when they're 65. So in 25 years, my dad would be 100 and I would retire. How, if my dad survives that long, what can we do together? Can we have fun? Can we travel? Probably not. He's probably going to be in his house or in assisted living, or be in his house and someone's going to help take care of him, or I'm going to live there and take care of him and help him out. But so in 20 years, what are the things we could do with each other for a vacation or a trip or an experience or a baseball game or whatever? It's crazy. I just can't think about it as man, how do you do that? What is the way to do it about there for you guys? I don't know the answer. I don't know how it is doable because you're in your 40s, you got to work, you got to save, you got to, save up for your family, your kids' college, your pay your mortgage, you be responsible. And you can't just stop what you're doing and go on a great vacation with your parents. Because they might not be around, or you can't do it because of time commitments or health or whatever it is. So then hopefully you can get together and make an effort. Because looking back at it, I want to feel like I did the best I can with what I got and what I had. And I'm not going to feel, even if things happen where things change now or my dad went away, I wouldn't worry about I wish I did things more. Because I can only do so much. I told my dad to come here. I told him to go on a cruise. I tried to work on vacations and stuff and everything there too. But life, and it's kind of complicated, but it's all right. And so, we'll have to see where the future holds. But, eventually I guess you have to cut your hours or stop working or whatever. Yeah, like Tim says, if you can, take care of your dad. No, not sending to him. I don't want to send my dad to a home at all. And he's actually doing pretty well for a 75-year-old. You know, he has his wits about him, and he's got aches and pains, but who doesn't, right? And he's doing all right. But you just start thinking about that. Or at least I do. Because I'm just trying to be responsible with everything for the future, planning for tomorrow, planning for the future ahead, but enjoying and living for today. And it's something that I try to talk and think about because it's a realistic, real problem, you know. Hard Nixie says, I've met and known several people close to 100 or over 100, and as long as you have your mental state, there are a lot of things you can still do. That's true. I mean, you know, if you have your wits about you and your mind, you can go do anything as much as you can. But if your oxygen level or your arthritis, wear and tear, your stability, your balance, you know, I deal with a lot of balance patients in physical therapy, and so it's a dangerous thing. If you have a hip fracture, if you slip and fall and hurt something, you're going down, you're going to have a decline in function big time. You know, it doesn't heal right, and you just want to avoid a hip fracture at all costs. A slip and fall and a major injury. And so you got to be careful with that. But overall, just enjoy what you got with what you have, with who's around you on there too. And, you know, so this year I got a couple vacations already lined up, which, like I said, if you know me and you know this channel, I'm a proponent of being excited for the future, being excited for stuff in a month, 6 months, a week, whatever it is, 2 weeks, 2 months, you know, end of the year, middle of the year. You know, my wife's birthday's in February, so try to do something there. Try to do something in May. Try to do something over the summer. Try to do something in November or December. You know, so at least a couple trips. I always would have loved to have had, like when I get older, I would love to go on a cruise every May and December. May and December. May and December. So to go on 2 cruises. I have a patient who's going on 2 cruises in February, 1 in March. They're going to South Carolina in April and another cruise in May. And I was like, man, what a life. They're retired, obviously. But I was like, man, so 2 cruises, another one in March, another vacation, and another cruise. So you got 5 things in 5 months, basically. That's crazy, which is awesome. And I'm like, I don't know about going on that many vacations, but if you have the money, live it up. Can't take it with you. Take care of your debts and your mortgages and all that stuff. And then you're like, all right, what do I do now? Let's have some fun. As long as you got a good family dynamic and someone to travel with. That's the biggest thing, is like being alone. Being forgotten. You know, and I don't want anyone that I care about to feel that way. Especially my dad and my mom and my step-parents and everything there too. And my friends. Especially if they're going through a hard time or whatever. But the minute you lose your spouse and your friends and your family, it can be very sad. And I saw this, it wasn't a TED Talk, but it was something like that. There was a study about there too, and the high correlation with a happy, fulfilled life is people and connections. And it's not just people and connections, it's the right people and right connections. So you don't have to have a lot of people in your life. You just have to have the right people in your life. So you could do that with one other person. It doesn't have to be a whole group. It might actually be annoying to be in a big group of it too. So it's better to be around that one person, to keep in touch, to tell your friends, family. That's why I always love to drop a text to a friend if I haven't talked to someone in a while. Hey man, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Haven't talked to you in a while. Maybe they respond, maybe they don't. But I just know that I would love to have that from time to time. Like, I don't need to get into a whole big conversation over the phone, but just a simple text. Like, hey man, how you doing? Doing well. How about you? How's the family? How's the wife? How's the kids? How's the dog? How's the whatever? You know? Like, I'm thinking about you. How are you? It goes a long way. And if you think about it as, I would love if someone reached out. Just a simple, hey man, how you doing? So if you would like that, how about you reciprocate that and do that to someone else? And maybe it'll come back around, because everybody's waiting for people to make that move, for somebody to do this. Oh, they don't call me. No one's ever called me. No one does this. No one wishes me a happy birthday. No one wishes that, you know? The next thing you know, it's done and it's gone and it's over. And now you got nothing. And so it happens. You know, life is a two-way street. People got to go one way or another, reach out or don't, make an effort or don't. And that's what it comes down to, you know. But again, I do believe that people come and go in your life for different reasons. Whatever those are, good and bad. Life's a journey and a test and everything else in between, but also can be very exciting and rewarding if we let it be. You know, give on to others, treat others how you'd want to be treated. All those good philosophy type mindset, good, just good comes to good people and bad comes to bad people too, you know. Negative things happen to negative people on a negative basis, you know. But it's one of those things that we can change. And it just is kind of cool. Like, I always I'll never underestimate and not appreciate the ability to have a streaming service. Right? Maybe you take it for granted. Maybe everybody in here is old enough to know that dial-up internet sucked. You know, now it's high-speed internet and I can talk like this to you guys, which is amazing. To reach out to everybody, to have those conversations, to talk to people. And then if you want to go watch something on any plethora of streaming service. And like, I love to be able to watch a show when I want to watch it. That is awesome. To get stuff from Amazon when it's working correctly, the day of, the next morning. And then I have a thing that I should have got last week on the 30th. And they're like, oh, it's delayed now to the 3rd. Oh, no, now it's delayed to the 7th. If you don't receive it by the 7th, you can come back for a refund. And I'm like, because the last time I checked online, it said delayed, package delayed. Delayed in transit. And it's going the wrong way. It was in Georgia, then it was in Kentucky, now it's in Tennessee. And I'm like, I live in Florida. I don't know where this package is going, but all right. So I'll be ready for my refund come Tuesday. That's for sure. Because I don't know what's going on with that. Getting medications in the mail, getting food delivered to us. But that's always kind of been a thing with like pizza and Chinese food and whatever. But now it can be from restaurants or fast food. Even though I don't agree with like getting fast food delivered, because it's like fast food. Like, it should be quick there too. But if I do it when I avoid restaurants, because some of them can be crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to mess with going to a store, restaurant, have to go wait in there to pick it up, then drive home and it's cold and everything too. Like, it's just crazy. Phantom Deluxe. But like I can say, guys, is it's January 5th, 2025. Like, that's crazy, right? Excuse me. 2025. That's crazy to think about it. Where, growing up in the 80s and now to see 2025, it's pretty cool. And pretty sad at the same point to see where the world is at 2025. Where, back in the day in the 80s and 90s, they're like, yeah, man, 2025 comes around, we're going to have flying cars, we're going to be teleporting, there's going to be tubes everywhere to take me to work. Going to be taking me around, be zipping around town. Won't have to worry about nothing. It's going to be amazing. Instead, we got like streaming services and quick delivery and internet. Hopefully fiber optic stuff's going to be out there too, and we'll be able to rock and roll with that and just be going faster every every couple months. Hopefully they improve stuff and gets better. We'll see where it is at the end of the year from now to there, but hopefully it's a good economy. We're safe, we're sound, we're doing well in the United States, but all over too, you know? Right, so we thought like, so in 2025, it's got to be kind of a letdown for certain things. If you were in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we're like, man, what's it going to be like in the 2000s? Not that different. We got weird cyber trucks driving around and weird stuff on there too, you know? But all right, guys, that's my hour. It goes quick. Thank you for being here. I'll be back next week to talk about any other shows, movies, or stuff that we've seen, different sporting events, you know, everything there too, what's going on with us, you know, this past week. Hopefully you're safe and sound. Stay warm. I know it's going to be pretty cold in Florida this week into the weekend, so I can only imagine if it's going to be cold here in Florida, what's it going to be like where you are. Stay warm, stay safe, and everything. And remember, guys, with hard work and dedication, belief, and sacrifice, you can truly achieve your goals. Believe in yourself. You can do it no matter what it is. Thank you, guys.